Thank you everyone for joining. For those who are here, we're in Likutei Torah. We're on page Ayin Tes, column Beis. I'm involved with a shul here in Crown Heights. We have a shir twice a week in Likutei Torah, Tuesday night and Shabbos morning. So we have like a style of the shir. The intention of the shir, the kavanah, is to try to apply whatever the Alter Rebbe is saying in a way that's meaningful, that's ma'ir halavavis, that we could take something with us for the week. Also, I try to give a little background, to speak around a little bit some the Kodesh, because in the Likutei Torah it's almost like shorthand. So the first thing is, so this Maamer, Kodesh Yisrael Hashem, Reishis Tvu Asoi, that's the Nikud, Tvu Asoi, Kol Eichlav Yashamu. It's a pasuk in Yirmiyah. The pasuk says that the Yidden, Kodesh Yisrael Hashem, that the Yidden are Kodesh Hashem. Reishis Tvu Asoi, the Yidden are the first crop of Hashem. Kol Eichlav, whoever consumes, like whoever burns up the Yidden, Yashamu, they have to bring a carbon ocean. So let's Reishis Tvuase behei ksiv. It's written with a hey, not with a vav, a cholam. Mashma the Yisrael heim Reishis Tvuas Hashem. That the Yidden are the first crop. V'tzorech lohavin. First of all, Mazeh hatvua hanitzmach asher Yisrael mechunim b'shem Reishis lo. What is this produce that's the Yidden are the first? I'll just mention about this question that the Rebbe in a Maamer, on this Maamer, the Rebbe explains ba'arichus. The Rebbe develops the question that lechoira, the Alter Rebbe is going to explain that the Malachim, they're also Tvuas Hashem. And the Rebbe asks, how could it be that the Yidden are Reishis of the Malachim? Now the Alter Rebbe is going to explain that there are two types of Malachim based on what we say in davening. There's Yoitzer Meshorsim, V'asher Meshorsov. Have any of you heard the story? There's a story of Rabbi Baruch of Mezhebuz. Rabbi Baruch of Mezhebuz with Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Barditchev. You familiar? You know the story? I should tell you more details about this nusach of davening. That one Shabbos, a Yid came to visit. I'm not going to go through the whole story because this is like, it's like a Shalashuda story, 25 minutes. But in a nutshell, Reb Baruch, somebody was visiting Reb Baruch, and Reb Baruch by the table, Shabbos, he said, does anyone have anything bad to say about Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Barditchev? And there was someone there, he wanted to say something, and the people were holding him down, and Reb Baruch repeated it, and then by Shalashudas, finally he jumped up, and Reb Baruch saw, and he says, "What's your story?" So he says, once I was passing by Barditchev, I stopped by, and Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Barditchev was davening, and I went to hear him. People said you should go hear him davening. So when I came, he was in the middle of Birchas Krishma, and suddenly he ran out of the shul and he started speaking to me. He was saying Yoitzer Meshorsim V'asher Meshorsov. And then he said to me, what's Malach Mechol gonna say in Yiddish? So we come to a Yid in the middle of Birchas Krishma. He's talking in the middle of Birchas Krishma. So Rabbi Baruch Mezhebuz said to him, in other words, he explained, there's two types of Malachim. There's Malachim that Hashem creates every day and they're consumed. That's Yoitzer Meshorsim. And then there's Asher Meshorsov, the Meshorsim that are from the beginning of Brias HaOlam. So in the story, Rabbi Baruch said to him that the day that you stopped by Barditchev, you stayed over in an inn, and you had breakfast or whatever it was, and the Balabas, by mistake, gave you a silver spoon, and you put it in your pocket, and you're a person with means. So the Barditchev was saying, when a Yid steals, usually Malach Mechol can he could say, listen, can geld, but in your case, what's he going to say? So the Yid was obviously very embarrassed, and he was moide. And then he says, "No, what's my tshuva?" He says, "The only one who could help you is the Barditcher." So the point is that there are two types of malachim. So the way the Rebbe explains the opening shaila of this Maamer, which the Alter Rebbe doesn't say, is that Meile to say that the Yidden are greater than the malachim, that Yotzim Misharsim, the ones that are created every day. Fine, that's Reishis. The Yidden are the Reishis over those malachim. But Asher Misharsov, that the Yidden should be greater than Malach Michal, Malach Gavriel. Why? How? The Rebbe explains it with an incredible biur. The Rebbe explains that our avodah in the world is iskafia. And every day of the meaning of the Zohar, kol yoyma v'yoyma ovid avidete, means that every day we have to do iskafia in one area. Okay, every day has its particular nesoyin. I'm sorry, I'm going so much into this Indian that the Rebbe explains. In other words, there's a yechidus that Rabbi Zalman Gopen had. So he asked the Rebbe a question about, the Alter Rebbe writes in Perek Lamed Daled in Tanya, that a person has to have like two emotions in their heart at the same time. The Alter Rebbe brings from Zohar, that on one side of your heart there should be joy, and on the other side of your heart should be sadness. Mitzad the guf and mitzad the neshama. So he asked the Rebbe, how is it possible? So the Rebbe explained to him, the Rebbe told him that he doesn't have to have it simultaneously. The idea is when you wake up, depending on the state that you're in, either you lean on Kabbalah's oil, that's what you need to serve Hashem that day, or you lean on joy. If you wake up motivated, excited, so you serve Hashem with simcha. If you wake up in a mood, like you're not in the mood, so you have to use Kabbalah's oil to just do what you need to do like a soldier. So, in other words, the meaning of the Zohar, Kol Yoyma V'Yoyma Ovid Avidite, means that one day you wake up like this. So this is the Tnuah of this day. And a different day you wake up differently. So that's the Tnuah. So every day has its unique iskafia. Says the Rebbe, the Malachim who exist only one day, the Yotzim Misharsim, so their whole experience is one iskafia. So it makes sense that a Yid who lives 120 years, who has many forms of iskafia throughout their life, so they're on a higher madrega. But the Malachim that are Malach Michal, Malach Gabriel, 3,000 years, whatever it is, so they also have iskafia, because they have a guf and they have a nefesh, and in order to combine the guf and the nefesh, there has to be iskafia. Even Malachim, even if the guf is only Eish and Ruach, even if it's only two of the Dalet Yesodis, they still need some kind of process to combine their Gashmi, so they have iskafia. So what the Alter Rebbe is here to explain is how could it be, and that's why, how could it be that Neshamas Yisrael are higher, are rashis of those Malachim? And by understanding that, the way the Rebbe frames it, so now you understand why the Alter Rebbe goes into a whole story about the two types of Malachim. Yetzim Misharsim, Vashem Misharsav. Let's read a little bit inside. V'zeu shekasuv, beirei kedoshim, Yetzim Misharsim, Vashem Misharsav. I mean, the first word of the Maamer is Kodesh. So the Eibusher creates these kedoshim, and there are different types. There's Yetzim Misharsim and Asher Misharsav Pirush, Va'asher Misharsav. Those Misharsim, those Malachim that are Va'asher, Mashma Me'ozim Me'olam, they're from always. Me'olam Heim Misharsim Oisei. Ve'yetzim Misharsim, Heim HaMalachim Shemishavim B'chol Yoim, they're created every day. Loimar Shira Lefonov. Kamesha Kosuv B'medrish Eicha, one of the psukim that we say in Eicha, Chadoshim Lapkorim Rabba Emunasecha. So every morning there's Chadoshim. Uba Mirasam, when they say, when those malachim say Kodesh, mizbatlim legamre. Dahainu shechoizer koyach Gilui his havuson lemekoirei lias bekoyach v'lei bepoil. The Alter Rebbe is going to explain this, but right here in this Maamer, the Alter Rebbe explains in a very beautiful way what happens here. Basically, we have to eat every day. So there's a certain amount of chayas that each of us require to be sustained. Those malachim are those boosts of chayas that goes into the world for the day that we consume and there's nothing left. Grass is not like a tree. Grass is not meant to be, you let it grow, right? In other words, the grass is for the animals to graze on. And so every day they come out and they eat up the grass. So grass is like the fresh calories that are, how do we call it? Right? In other words, it doesn't run out. We're not using out a resource that will be depleted.
Recycle?
No, it regenerates. Right? There's tomorrow there's more grass. So, and that's what these malachim are, like grass. That's what they're called, because they're little sprouts of nutrition that the world gets, and by living, we consume those. And if we live an upright life, then we're bringing those malachim to their shayrish. I want to talk a little bit about what the idea that the Alter Rebbe develops here, about the contrast of Shabbos and the weekday, and what the Alter Rebbe is saying here. So, for a minute, we'll talk about Shabbos and the weekday as if about Goyim and Yidden. We all know that Goyim are not forbidden to believe in Shituf. A Goy may believe that there's the Eibishter and another force that has Bechira that also gives energy to the world. That's not an Aveira for them, as long as they believe that the Eibishter is Melech Malchei Amlochim. By Yidden, a Yid is different story. By a Yid, there has to be Achtus Pshuta, only the Eibishter, only one deity, nothing else has Bechira, everything else is Kegarzen B'yad HaChaitziv, just like an instrument in the hand of the Creator. Now, in a certain way, the whole Olam, that's the difference, by the way, between Shem Elikim and Shem Havaya. Shem Elikim, because Shem Elikim is a mastir, because it conceals, so therefore there's a perception that there are other forces in the world that have Bechira and they give out whatever it is. They're independent. They have their own will. Shem Havaya recognizes that there is nothing else. There's only the Eibishter. What did Paroi say? Lo yadaiti es Havaya. I don't know Havaya. When a Yid wakes up in the morning, he also doesn't know Havaya. Bereshis is Barasa Yesh. Hashem creates a yesh. When a person wakes up in the morning, I don't mean to have such a strong contrast, but as fagoyisht. Chidlu lachem min adam, stay away from a guy that neshama ba'apay. He's a bama. He's a yesh. What does that mean? He's a yesh. In other words, I have a rotzing. I wake up in the morning. What do you mean? I have a to-do list. My to-do list. There are things that I need to do. That's what happens before davening. By a goy, it's not a problem. The Eibishter gave me chayas, and I could choose to do what I need to do. It's fine. Rom al kol goyim Hashem. The Ramaz writes, Chelek havaya amoy, asher cholak Hashem oisom, another pasuk in Dvarim, that the Yidden cholak, that the Yidden are separate. They're divided. The goyim have. It's different for them. By the Yidden, we're in a different category from all the other nations. So what does it mean to be a Yid? So when a Yid wakes up in the morning and he says, Mal b'sharumin, says the Alter Rebbe, I don't understand. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech ha'olam mal b'sharumim. Who are you kidding? I'm putting on my own pants. What are you saying? Mal b'sharumim. He says a Yid wakes up in the morning and he says to himself, this is me. Everything is the Eibishter. That's the Nusach HaBracha, Baruch Atah Havaya. In other words, I recognize that my whole purpose and the true only existence is only the Eibishter. So therefore, even putting on my clothing, even such a simple thing, it's also really, it's the Eibishter doing it. And there are a few parts of davening that the Alter Rebbe illuminates his mavayir here in the Maamer. So this is the avodah. When a Yid wakes up in the morning, he has to also just to bring out this nekuda that you see, generally speaking, our seichel is not us. Our seichel is a medium that allows us to connect to the world. We connect to the world through our seichel. It's like I'm a person, and my mind wanders around the world and teaches me things about the world. Then there's me. There's me, like when one of the expressions I use it, very very often. Rabbi Yoel would say, you could ask a person in what language you think, but you don't ask a person. It doesn't make sense to ask a person in what language do you love, because love is an Inyan Pnimi. It's you, because it's you. Therefore, it doesn't make sense to say in what language. Language, that's something being introduced to you. Come, I'm going to teach you another rule of how math works or whatever in geometry. So you're being introduced to a chachma, that the way something works in the world. You're learning Kiddush HaChedesh. The Rambam is telling you, there's this, and he's teaching you information that introduces you to the world. But leiv, when we talk about leiv means you. You're etzem. You're pnimius. So the idea, what's davening? Davening is to take the neshama be'apay. Be'apay, the Alter Rebbe says, means in your seichel, which seichel is only chitzonius. And then you have to daven. And when you daven, you have to spread. You have to develop, you have to draw the elikus. That it shouldn't be just an idea. That it should be in your pnimius, in your toich. That's the avodah of davening. So let's take a look. We have to. Okay, so I want to go. We'll go back when we read the Maamer to this idea of what happens every day. That a person coming back to this idea, a person takes nourishment from the world, like eating grass. What we take, and then we daven with it. Davening is the Yid, it's Shem Havaya. So we're taking something that grew from Bia, where there's Helem v'Hester an Elikus, where it's really Shem Elikim, where we could do whatever we want. It's like a goyish space. And a person brings up the koyach from Bia into Atzilus. And this is the avodah by every Yid. Our avodah, batal retzoincha mipnei retzoinah, means that a person, a Yid, in his dedication to the Eibishter, he says, Eibishter, what do you need me to do today? That's to live like a chassid. To live, that's the meaning of the tehillim that we say on Nefilas Apayim. The Alter Rebbe brings that at the end of Perek Mem Aleph of Tanya. LeDavid Eilecha Hashem Nafshi Esa. What does it mean? David HaMelech says, Eibishter, you gave me my life. I am dedicating my life to you. What do you want me to do today? That's the Nefilas Apayim. That's the Kavon. So that's the hispashtus of davening. You daven Shemon Esrei, you said Krishma, and that's the purpose of the avodah of every day. Let's take a look inside. 4 lines from the bottom. Uba amirosam, when the malachim sing shira, misbatlim legamri. The hainu shechoizer koyach gilu hisavus alemekoira. It's used up. The calories are burnt up. They're gone. Lias bekoyach v'lei bepoil. Now it's a potential again. We need more for tomorrow. Zehu she'omer hakosuf. The pasuk says, Tache ha'aretz deshe. Pirush ha'aretz behei is ha'aretz ha'yoyna. That's Malchus Da'atzilis. Is called Eretz ha'aretz, the one and only. There's a few Maamorim in Lekutei Torah as Halech Lifnei Hashem be'artzois hachayim. Yeah, he speaks about in Leisia Mishakela. K'moish ha'aretz hagashmius. We're on page 158. Megale koyach hatzemeach asher b'kirbo b'chol yom. Every day, literally in the spring, it rains. You wake up in the morning, the grass is taller. Lahitzi minei tzmachim. Kain ha'aretz ha'yoyna. Megale koyach ha'izhavus. There's the Malchus Da'atzilis is what brings the physical world into existence. It reveals the Koyach HaYishavus Asher Ba Libriya Uleizhaves Yesh Me'ayin. There should be a world. Ubazeh, one thing that gets recreated every single day are these malachim. Nishave malachim b'chol yom sheyom rushira v'yizbat lo l'mekayram v'heim anekraim deshe. They're called grass. Lochein. Now the Alter Rebbe first. The Alter Rebbe is going to speak about Shabbos. Then he's going to speak about tefillah every day. So Shabbos, a whole week, a Yid was consuming. You were a consumer the whole week. You were taking from the world. Now comes Shabbos. Shabbos is Kulei LaHashem. So all the tefillahs of the Mizmorim Friday night, L'chun eranino lahavaya. And he's going to bring all the different psukim from Oziran Lifnei Yud Kevavke Kivalish Beit Haaretz. Everything is about, we're leaving Shem Elikim of the weekday, and now we're going to Achtos Pshuta. So he says, Lachein anu emrim b'chol erev Shabbos hovu la'Hashem b'nei Elim. We're bringing all these malachim to the Eibishter. B'nei Elikim with a hey. Those are the malachim that exist since the beginning of creation. Heima hamalachim shenivru misheshis semei bereshis. But b'nei Elim, Heim hamalachim shenishavu b'chol yom mi bechinas hey achroina chochma tato Malchus Da'atzilis, which Malchus Da'atzilis gives life to all of Bia. So remember that the pasuk that we had in the Maamer, he brought the pasuk Kodesh Yisrael LaHashem Reishis Tevu Aso. It ended with a hey. The word is Tevu Asoi, but there's a hey at the end. That hey, that's Malchus Da'atzilis, this final hay that gives a chayas in Bia. Upidish Elim Loshen Koyach. These malachim, what is their name? Koyach. Those are the calories. K'meives Eli Haaretz. Ki b'nei Elim heim malachim da'asiyah. Those are the malachim. Payel mamish that keep us alive on a daily basis. V'ayidei malachim da'asiyah nimshach kol hashbois la'elam hazeh agashmi. Every grain, every drink, everything. Ein l'cha esev shein le'mazal. Nimtza. Heim, those malachim are our chayas. HaKoyach v'chayas o'elam hazeh. We all understand. Everybody's got to plug in every day after eat. Ukishamaychel mis'ale. How? Ayidei sha'adam oichlei betahara. Umispalel bekoyach hahu b'nekudas levavai. When you daven, that you're in the davening, you're placed in the davening. Al yidei zeh mis'ale gam hamalach hashoifeya hakoyach ve'achayas la'amaychel hahu. The energy that was, how that energy got to the Gashmi. Lias mis'ala v'nichlav m'kerchetzvei. Here, Alter Rebbe brings another time. We'll go through this reason quickly also. Another reason why these malachim are called b'nei Elim, chaser hey, al derech Maamer azal begitten. The Gemara says that when the Greek emperor came into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, so it says he took a zoyna and he spread out a sefer Torah, whatever he did, and he stabbed the paroiches. And so the Gemara says the Eibishter allowed all these things to happen in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, and he was silent. So the Gemara brings a few psukim, different Amoraim bring different psukim that express what happened. So he says one brings al pasuk mi kamecha ba'elim, mi kamecha be'ilmim. You Hashem are mute. That Hashem is silent. Pirish ilmim Hainu kameshakosov kerochi lifnei geizezeh ne'elama, that a sheep, when it's shorn, is quiet. What does it mean when it's shorn? Its resource is being removed. They're taking away its value, and it's quiet. The grass, the malachim are being consumed, and the person is using it for his own things, and the Eibishter is silent. He allows a person. She'ein dvar Hashem meir b'bchinas gili b'biyah. In biyah, we don't see dvar Hashem. Fishein arei chasiyah legabi atzilus, and atzilus is elikus. V'zeu b'chinas ilein mishem elikim. Extract, take out the letter Hey from Hashem's name. The Hey Tato. I'll just mention this very quickly because it's interesting, right? The same concept that happens here. It says that the Deira Mabul, it says Mola Ha'oretz Chomos. Right? There's a word Chomos. So, Rabbi Twersky once mentioned this punkt in a shir. Somehow I remember this thing, this vart that he said. He says, until the Deira Mabul, they also did bad things, but they understood that the Eibishter is the source. What happened by the Deira Mabul? They took only Chomos. Chomos is, if you have the word Nochosh, so the word Nochosh, Nun, you have in Hashem's name, Aleph, Dalet, Nun, Yud. Shin, you have in Hashem's name, Shakai. But the Ches, you don't have in Hashem's name. Mem Samach is the Zamalach Samail, the Samach Mem. They took out the Aleph Lamed, and they left the Samach Mem. Right? There's no Eibishter. They took away there's only Klippet. So the Eibishter said to Noach, I think this is a whole story with the Sar Shalom Mibels. He met the Chveis, and he asked him, and he told him this Torah, so he said to Hashem said to Noach, I want you to go build a teva. The teva will restore all the letters that were erased. So the teva was 50 amos wide, that's the nun from Nochosh. And it was 300 amos long, that's the shin from Nochosh. And then the Aleph Lamed, the Lamed that's 30 feet tall, the height of the. And then he says on top, El Amma Techalena Melmaila, with the window, you have to have one Amma at the top. That's the Aleph of Shem Havaya. So it's a restoration of the letters of Hashem's name that were removed, for those that enjoy things of this nature. Right? So here, what the Alter Rebbe is saying, you have Shem Elikim, you take away the Hey. The Hey of Shem Elikim, that's from Shem Havaya. The final Hey that we're also learning about in Igeres HaTshuva now, and the Alter Rebbe actually is Metzayin, the Perek Daled in Igeres HaTshuva in this Maamer. So when you take that away, what happens? There's only Helem. Ein Adibur Begili. Also, in Bechlal over here, generally speaking, we say, Bidvar Hashem Shamayim Nasu uveruach piv kol tzevom. Ruach piv, when a person speaks, there's the voice. The voice is the main force. Then the articulators form on the voice. So there's the breath that's behind the sound. That's the power of the sound. That's the hevel, like it says in Tanya, the Alter Rebbe says, man de nofach. It's deeper. I don't know if it's that deep, but it's on a higher level than the words. In other words, the koil, right? The lishmaya koil shofar, yeah? The sound, that's higher than the words. The words are lower than the sound. But then there are silent letters. The letter Hey, it's called Osa Klila. It's a light letter. You don't hear. It's not a coil. It's just a little, it's like a little ear, a puff. The Alter Rebbe is going to explain here that you have Hevel that's less than the voice in words. There's just a little breath. That's weaker than. When we talk about Asiya, you don't even hear the words of Dvar Hashem. It's like all those letters that you don't hear the sounds. All the silent letters. That's the Dvar Hashem in Asiya is silent letters. That's what he says here. So Zeu Bechinas Ilein Mishem Elikim. It's mute. She'ein Adibur Begilu. Rak Bechinas Hevel Bilvad. Shebeha Hevel. There's nothing intelligent. When a person says a word, there's seichel in a word. But in a silent letter, there's nothing. When a person speaks, it's intelligible. The malachim that are from Sheishis Yimei Bereishis, shehem nimshachim mediburish ala Kodesh Baruch Hu, and in the dibur there's melubish gilei achachma bina, and that's the yudke of Shem Elikim. Mashe'en kein bechinas aleph lamed mem of Elikim, she'en bechinas yudke nimshacham islabish ba'hevel. Those are the lower level malachim in Asiyah. Vezeu ne'elamti dumniya, doim yudke. There's no yudke. Yudke is missing. Elaine is missing the Yud and the Hey of Shem Hashem. Skipping the parentheses a few lines. Yeah, it's about 8 lines. Vehine, Lochein, being that the Malachim are so meek. Efshar lahamalachim hanal, la'lois uleheskalel b'chochma ilah. They cannot elevate themselves back to the Eibishter. Ki im al yidei she Yisrael, which are nimshachim from pnimius chochma ilah. Only Yidden, Kameshikosav in Parshas Mishpatim, and in the beard on the pasuk Yoinosi, Lochein Onu Mevakshim Hovu Lashem B'nei Elim. What do we say? Pirush Hovu Loshen Hazmona. We say to these Malachim, Hazminu Atzmeichem, prepare yourselves, La'leis V'likolol B'mokar Shem Havaya Baruch Hu, to become one with the Eibishter. Not like the Goyim, for whom, don't think you're a Malach, you're your own entity. You're your own Metzias. We're all going to become Achdus with the Eibishter. V'zeu shekosov, this is the meaning of the pasuk Sheishes Yomim Ta'avoid. 6 days, Avoida, his Havos Yashmayayin, there's creation, but by Yom HaShvi Tishpais, we all go back to Shem Havaya, Chazora Sa'olim Islamikoyrom, V'teisefes Oir Aleim, V'nechlolim HaKoil Ba'atzmus Shem Havaya. You'll see the beers beautifully in the next ois. And we have a Kamesha Kosov Vayechal Elikim by Yom HaShvi. On Yom HaShvi, Elikim ends. That's where Shem Havaya is. Mevur in Basilagani Shekol So Bechinas Umadreges Elikim Shenasa Kates V'Tachlis Lamadrega Zu V'Nimshar Kili Shem Havaya. Now it's Hashem's will. V'lachein onoim l'malachim, we say to the malachim, which are nimshachim mishem elikim, hovu lahavaya b'nei elim. We're going to Shem Havaya. She has minu atzmo v'lalis v'lekol b'Shem Havaya baruch hu amizgala b'Shabbos. And that's why we say ishtach v'la Hashem b'hadras kodesh, which is not tzilus. But yeah, in general, shebiyam misalim b'atzilus, and that's the 7 koilas that I mentioned in Mizmer Zeh, koil Hashem, alamayim. All of this is to be mamshich Shem Havaya into all the avodah of the week. Al davar zeh on this theme is kol inyan lechun iran al havaya shiru al havaya, which we say in Kabbalah Shabbos. Ki god al havaya neiruhu al kol elikim. It's higher al kol kuf chof tzirufi elikim. This aliyah is through Yidden al yidei Yisrael, which are pnimius ha'elamis. Kol hanivraim leinis havukim derech maiver. They're all a means. And the Rebbe explains that this is why the word is tevu asoi with a hey, because we are the Yidden Kodesh. The chidush of the word of the pasuk is that not that the Yidden are holy when they're learning and davening. The Yidden are holy when they're in Olam Haza Agashmi. The purpose is the hey tatah. The purpose is the avodah of Sheishes Yimei HaChoil. V'zeu gam kein b'chol yom tachlis o avodah zu tefila k'dei lihibotel v'likolel atzmoi v'kol ha'elamois b'shem Havaya Baruch Hu, to become one with the Eibishter, ha'mahavayis ha'mayin layesh v'limoshech eisei gam kein b'zeu elam ha'gashmi, to draw the Eibishter into Gashmis through Teira mitzvahs yichudei lo, yichudei tato, l'mayla v'ketzel madadei tachlis, and all of this is only in Shem Havaya Baruch Hu. Now let's take a look at Beis. So the Alter Rebbe brings a question. So we're in the second column in Ois Beis. Talmud Torah keneged kulam, afilu keneged iyun tefila. Learning is the greatest. We find something interesting. Kedem atfila, before you daven, asr lecha, you're not allowed to eat. However, v'kedem alimud, before you learn, mutar lecha. It doesn't say that you have to make sure to learn before you eat. Why? He's also going to bring later, in a similar way, what he's saying here is that there's a certain stringency with davening over learning. And he says it's the same thing in davening itself. Kriya Shema is the Iraisa. The brachos of Kriya Shema are only the Rabbanon. So why do we say the brachos of Kriya Shema first? You should have said the Iker. You should say Kriya Shema first. That's the Iker. What happens if you're going to get tired? You have to say, right? But just like in learning, and that we put davening first, and davening has a chumrah, like the same thing in davening too. He'll explain. Mikol makom, kedem atfila also lech. V'zeu machmas. He says like this. Brings up biur. Ha'adam hu olam katan. A person is a small world, meaning everything we find in the world, we find in a person. In the world, there's day and night, light and darkness. Also in people. In people, there's day and night, light and darkness, in human beings. K'moshe yesh ba'olam, yom v'layla, ba'yom meir ha'oyer, u'beheder ha'oyer, u'b'chinas layla b'gashmias, keinu ba'adam gam ki b'ruchnias. Spiritually, it's the same thing, k'moshe kosov. Gam ki eshev b'choshech, havaya oirli. So you see that a person could have light and darkness. Afilu ba'olam hazeh ha'gashmi, Hashem meir b'Yisrael. There's a story with Rabbi Lepler. Rabbi Lepler got a bracha. Who was the bracha from? From the Alter Rebbe, he had a bracha. So he had a bracha that he would, mitamol, he would have like a neshama yesera. He would have like ava betanugim. So he would get very, and he would start dancing. In the stories it says that one time he danced with a mailman. Right? Mitamol, it came. So he would have such a light. So the Alter Rebbe is saying that when a person's neshama is meir and mispashet, right? It permeates the person as I nikra yoim, tzalichte geyid, bi'estalkus nishmasei, mechuna b'shem layla. Obviously there are degrees, and that's what happens when a person falls asleep. Lachein ba'layla hu b'bchinas shina legamri, machmas istalkus nafshi. When a person wakes up in the morning, what happens? Azai, and this happens by every one of us. The power of the neshama over the body is very limited. Right? We always bring that Alter Rebbe writes in Tanya that even a person who conducts themselves their whole life like a Beinani, the Yetzer Hara is still getting stronger. The Nefesh Habamis is still getting stronger. Why? Ba'achila, shtia, you eat, you sleep. Just doing these gashmizdika things, your nefesh habamis, he's doing push-ups. Your nefesh habamis is always working out. He's getting stronger. That's it. Right? Just so when a person wakes up in the morning, just the fact that he slept, his mitzias, his yeshus, is pronounced. It's about what he wants. Ki ein lo gilui. It's not, the neshama is not expressing itself in any way. Machmas chaymer yeshes haguf, lahoir ulias pashet bekirbe. The yeshes is what's dominant. A person shouldn't become nothing. Hashem yizbarech mehave u'machzir lenishmasi b'chol beker. He gets a fresh, new life. K'mei shekasuv, Chadashim labkarim rabba munasecha. Pirush, like it says, Amachadish b'chayim tov masa bereshis. What is that? Milas bereshis is baros hayesh. The Eibishter creates in the raw form. He's a Baal Gaiva. He wakes up in the morning, what he needs. He's hungry, he's thirsty, he's cold, he's tired, he needs a shower. Don't talk to me when I wake up in the morning. It's too early. Don't talk to me. People have different ways in which their yeshus expresses themselves and their grouchiness. It's all part of the yeshus. That's what happens. He becomes a yesh. because the guf, when the Eibishter gifts you with your neshama, because the guf is very fagrept, it's not internalized. It's only in your nose. It's in your mind. It's not expressed. You didn't daven. Tefillah means to bind yourself. He's mevatel is rotzen. I just also want to say here that in last week in Lekutei Torah, one of the last Maamorim, he speaks about, he brings from the psukim in the brachas. It says v'hoya mispar b'nei Yisrael, that the Yidden roi v'Yisrael v'hoya. What's the lashon pasuk? It must be from the Haftarah. The last. A minute. No. So he says, Mispar es roi, mi mona afar Yaakov, mispar es roiva Yisrael. So he says, what's roiva? One taisha of roiva means that the Yidden have 4 bechinas. Machshava dibur maisa. Then there's af asisiv. What's af? Af is rotzen ha'elyon. Rotzen ha'elyon meaning consistency. He explains in the Maamer that mitzad, a person says, I want to do a mitzvah, I also want to do an aveira. So how do you combat? In other words, I have a rotzen to do the right thing, and I also have a rotzen to do the wrong thing. So it can't last. So you need rotzen ha'elyon. Rotzen ha'elyon is that a person, that there are truths that you're given. Avodas matana. The Eibishter gives a person a matana molmaila, a teva l'maila me'aseichel to do the right thing. And our avoda is to join the rotzen ha'tachton and the rotzen ha'elyon. Right? We have to take it apart a little bit. Here, the Alter Rebbe is going to say that there's a 5th inyan. When you bring a carbon osham, I'll just explain a little bit the end of the pasuk. A carbon osham is for averis that a person does on purpose. Right? For instance, if a person swears falsely, like let's say a person is a shomer on a pikadon, and when the owner comes to ask you for it, you say it was stolen, but really you have it. Right? So all the cases, when you look in the parsha, it's when a person does an aveira on purpose, they bring a carbon osham, and then it says that you have to add a chamishis. So what happens here is, in this pasuk, kol eichlov yeshamu, that a yid, Yisrael, is Shem Havaya. To be a yid means, I don't have my own rotzen. Only what the Eibishter wants. What happens if a yid swallows up, they bury that rotzen to Hashem, and they behave with yeshus. So what's the tikkun? What's the tshuva? Yeshom. They have to bring a carbon osham. A carbon osham is the chamishis, the 5th. It's the yechida. The yechida is, no matter what, I'm going to do the right thing. Tshuva is Kabbalah lahaba. It doesn't matter how I feel or if I care or if I understand. I'm just dedicating myself 100%. That's the tshuva on taking your rotzen away from the Eibishter, making believe like we have our own choice in the world, like that a yid could live like a goy. Let's take a look. This part, I want to read the part Malbish Arumim. Let's read inside. So here, let's vihine. The last word on the line is vihine. It's about halfway down this ois. It says vihine harotzain hu maker kol hamidus v'hu chiyuson v'kiyuman. Our will is what drives all our emotions. What's mesiras nefesh? Shemeiser etzoynei. He gives over his ratzon to the Eibishter. Chulu. Right? Lahavdil, like some person with their wife. You say, what do you want? I don't want anything, whatever you want. I just, right? Completely, right? I don't mean to say lahavdil, but somebody went into Yechidus in one of the early years, and the Rebbe asked him about learning, what he wants to learn, something. So he said, Rabbi Groner used to repeat this many times. So he said to the Rebbe, whatever the Rebbe wird hasten, whatever the Rebbe will say, that's what he'll learn. So the Rebbe said with disappointment, why does it always have to be that right? There has to always be, you know, it could also be some ava also, you know, it doesn't have to be akoponim, but that's meiser etzoyne. Eibishter, this morning I woke up, I had all kinds of plans. Then I said, you know what? I don't have any plans anymore. The Eibishter has a plan. That's the meiser etzoyne. V'adam hu hanefesh shehu harotz. What's dam hu hanefesh? That's our will. L'chein al yedei zeh nimsheches haneshama shehi mibchinas shemavayo mispashetes b'chol haguf. This is what he says in the Lashon HaGemara. He's going to bring it soon. Don't eat before you daven for your blood. Right? Koidem shetispalalu al dimchem. You have to daven for your rotzen. Who's in charge? And the rotzen is pnimius. And the rotzen is the pnimius of all your emotions. The rotzen is the meaning. What do I care about? So before Kedemat Tefillah, he adayin rak ba'apov. Dahainu sherak b'meiche v'sichlo yimeidel Hashem. Avaloi nespashto adayin believe. It's not in his pnimius. Came Pirish Ramas Pashas Al in the Kisvei Arizal, Inyan Hashem Neshama, Al Pi Kisvei Arizal, Inyan Hashem Neshama Ba'apai. That's how he explains it. Ayin Bezeir, a different Eifen. Ayin in the Maamer of Nigdashti Beseich B'nei Yisrael. What's Beseich? Hainu Shei Yutfas, Inyan Kedushos Yizborech, Belev Adam Daike. It should permeate him not as a seichel, but this is it. This is my belief. The hanocha, upleg. This is the right thing to do. Why? It's the right thing. I am Mashakosov in the Maamer Azal Yofashachas B'Shua Binyan HaKereya Tzorich Sheira Isra Keneged Liboy. That the Keneged Liboy by your heart, you have to see a kfiyah. You have to see a right, when you bow, it has to be enough that you should see, in the Gemara it says that you should see a coin on the floor in front of you. That's how you have to bow. So the lashon that keneged libay, by your heart, there has to be a little, isser is a small coin, a little bow by your heart. This is the meaning of the pasuk. Chidlu lachem in adam, that's brought in Kitzur Shulchan Aruch and in the Gemara in Brachos. Stay away from a person which the neshama is only ba'apay ki ba'ameh nechshavu, and it brings in Shulchan Aruch that you're not allowed to greet someone in the morning before you daven. Al tikra ba'ameh el abama. He's a yesh. Chidlu lachem lashon hibodlu atzmechem. Stay away from such a person. Adam kazeh shenishmasei rak ba'apov shelo yachlo lihispashed b'cholos gufay. His neshama is not permeating him. Ki ba'ameh nechshav. K'mei habama. That's nirev and nigla yeshes shalei. It protrudes. He's a yesh. Kain boy gamkin govra chemra yeshes shalei. This was a big sugya by Chassidim, that they used to talk, call each other yesh and things like that. Today we don't do it because I'm afraid I'll be called out as a yesh too, so I don't call anybody else. Some people, they're b'chal not in this battle. What do you mean? But I want, and I'm right, and I need all the things that the person's mitzias. L'chein asu lechal kedem atfilah. Maamer Azal leisichol al adam leisichol kedem shetispal al dimchem b'chdei shelelitin sitra the dama bisha lishlet bay. Not to allow the yeshes to control him. V'shuv, once he gets into that zone, he won't. Once a person is caught up in their own will, they can't turn around. It's like a trap. L'chein tiknu lanu, here's the vort on the davening. We say Birkas HaShachar. K'mei malbish harumim, mater asurim, hamechim mitzadik gover, we have shoes. Machmas she'etzel odom, b'chinas adam al-elyin, by a yid. By a yid, right? Not ha-odom. By odom, by a yid. Why are we called odom? Not because Adama, like the earth. We're called Adam because Adama, because we're similar to the Eibishter. Kol koi chaysav, all is a strength. Afilu lahaldish beged uminal, even to put on your pants and to put on shoes. Hakoilu koyach Shem Havaya Baruch Hu. It's all Hashem's koyach, not our own. Ve'in davar chutz mimenu, achtus pshuta. There's no bechira outside. Hagam ki abroches heim midrabanu. Mikol mokem heim koidim. They come first. Machmas sheheim achana l'kriyash madayraisa. That's the preparation to Hashem Echad. When a person says, Mamish, the Eibishter is the whole world. We're on top of Pei, column 1. Shil gilui amitis shem avaya, asher hu be'emes ein eid zulase l'mayla adin ketzu l'mata adin tachlis, that there's nothing else other than the Eibishter. Vayidei is beininus mikedim bebraches, when a person says Birchas Krishma, this word Baruch is kemei brechas hamayim, to draw into your life. Loshen hamshocha she'anu mamshichim erin seiv Baruch v'ashu behelim v'hester liyaz v'chinas gilui b'Yisrael u'b'makar knesses Yisrael in our neshamas. And that's why we ask, Lachein anu mavakshim Baruch atah, Eibishter, come. Sheyeh Havaya Baruch Hu, that the darga of Havaya, that there's no mitzias of Eilamis, should be Nimshach, B'chinas Ato, right in front of us, Noichach, second person, Begilui, K'mei Shebe'emes, the way it's Be'emes, that Akil Bottle of front of Lagamri, that's the Elekeinu, that should be our Chayas. Ani Havaya Leishonisi, there's no mitzias of the world. Rak Etzleinu Nidmelonu Hagashmias Liyesh. Avaletzi is Baruch Kalagashmias Efes V'tehu Nechshavulei, it's all nothing. So Pirush Havaya Hu Elekeinu, that Havaya is Mamish, Shem Havaya is our koyach. I don't have my own strength. K'mei Eleya Aretz Pirush Hu Keichenu Mamish. Ki Gam Kol Keiches Haguf Hanid Melonu Shem Tiviyim. They seem to be natural forces. Aval Eitza Yisrael Heima Koil Koyach Havaya Baruch Hu. Remember what it means here, Yisrael. Yisrael means a Yid who says, Eibishter, I take my orders from you. I don't have my own ratzon. Ki hine pare omar le'yadaitias havaya shelo yodarak shem elikim, and he said ozava havaya sa'aretz. Ki hakol yodim u'modim, everyone understands that there's elikim. Elo shemachshivim keach atzmusam. But ich ben echet hakapel u'shmacher. I also know how to do things. I also am responsible. There are things that are up to me in the world. The kol chayes ha'elam liyesh v'davar nifa b'fnei atzmei. As if they're outside of the Eibishter, which the truth is, even the Goyim seem to be saying, but still, the Goyim don't understand it at this level. Directly, which are the Malachim Da'asiyah. Shemehem nimshach keach v'chayis hashpos elam haza kenal. Lachein ein lahem keach v'chayis. Their ability is only liyas yesh v'davar nifa b'fnei atzmai. Avaloi kein am b'nei Yisrael. That's not the way it is by the Yid. Ki chelek havaya amay. We're part of Shem Havaya. The Shomas Yisrael are me'atzmus Havaya Baruch Hu. Lochein etzleinu by a Yid. Hu Havaya lekeinu. The Eibishter, Shem Havaya is keichenu, v'chayenu, beli shum emtzoi klal. There's nothing in between. Lochein, bevadai, meharoi, it's appropriate, levatel ritzeinenu legamrei, mipnei ritzeini yizbarech. K'may merazah batel ritzeincha. When I'm you with the Eibishter, when Havaya Lekenu, as I lechafasti ba'aretz ba'artzias, I don't want Gashmias. Ein bo lo chayfetz v'lo ratzon tshuka klal. It doesn't interest me. And that's Shema Yisrael. 2 minutes. V'zeu pirush Shema Yisrael. Shema is Havana. That Havaya lekeinu Havaya echad reitzol leimar. Kasher umeivin be'emes, when a Yid understands that Havaya is not higher hoyohevi v'yiyah, but Havaya is Elekeinu, our Chayis, our Koiches, our Shem Havaya, oz hu echad. Then it's Havaya echad. Ein eid milvad. Kol ha-Koiches betelim l'makar legamri. And then in the bracket he brings from the Tanya of today, and now we'll skip about 7 lines of the parentheses. Zeu she'amru Razal, Kol ha-mayrich be'echad. What does Kol ha-mayrich be'echad mean? You have to elongate, you have to draw into your life echad. She'mayrichum is beinin, that Havaya is Elekeinu, b'chdei she'yireh shu echad amiti. Oz ma'arichin lei, then you'll have a long life. And that's the meaning of Korev Hashem l'chol koirov. By the Goyim it says Roma kol Goyim, that the Eibusher is far away. By the Yidden it says Korev Hashem, the Eibusher is close. Shonu koirim meisi yizbarach shelo yiyeh b'bchinas rom chas v'sholem, ela sheyizgale v'yiyeh b'bchinas Elekeinu, the way it is be'emes who came. Ozu korev ma'od. Then a Yid has v'haftas Hashem Elekecha b'chol levavcha, machar shekvar nizbatul kol ritzonos, he has no other interests. V'lo nishar ki im ratzon Hashem. V'oz yuchal le'espalel, ritzein yirev yaseh, v'es shavas mishma